Hello everyone and good evening and welcome to Imola in Italy. We're here for round 7 of Racing Series Europe's Multi-Class Monday Championship, and we are in for an absolute scorcher. We are just coming off towards the trail end of pre-practice now. We've got about 10 minutes left, so we'll just bring you up to speed with what the championship picture is looking like and what we can expect from this race this evening. So round 7, it is round 7 here at Imola. We have a 75-minute special. That's 75 minutes of outright racing. Each driver will have to make one trip to the pits for fuel only. Tyres are optional, so the drivers can have the opportunity to save a little bit of time, as changing tyres does take a lot longer than putting in a little splash of fuel. Mentioned earlier on that the field is going to be split into two separate classes called multi-class Mondays. We'll have GT3s, and you can tell the GT3s on the left hand side there, as denoted by the white background and the black number next to their name, and the GT4s down here with the red background with the blue triangle at the bottom right corner. So out in front just now we have Apostolopoulos in the 45 McLaren, the blue and white McLaren, which has been a particularly strong car this season. The McLaren have done a good job engineering that one. In second place we have Rosnov in the BMW, and then in the number 1 BMW, the gold and black car there. L. Edwards in the Porsche, the 48 Porsche, green and gold. And then Turin Takis in the number 2 Porsche, the blue and white liveried Porsche, as we can see there, just coming around Tosa on the exit. Robinson will be in that that green and gold Ferrari, the number 11 car. We've got Knight, who had an absolute terrible time around Silverstone last time out, with disconnections and some spins. We'll see if they can turn it around this time, potentially finish a little bit higher. 1 second down just now, we'll see what they can do. Berlinski in the 75 Porsche. A lot of Porsches out there this evening, 4 separate cars, all the drivers all in a Porsche. We have got Luke Prentice in the 43 Porsche as well, the green and white Porsche, just sitting in the pit lane just now as well, likely finalising their setup. Strelitz in the yellow and blue Ferrari. Zaitsev in the AMG Mercedes, the blue and yellow AMG Mercedes. We've also got Jamie Christie sporting the purple and green 141 Ferrari, and Solakidis in the 46 Audi. And that's the GT3s. The GT4s, we've got Sperano there currently leading now in the McLaren, the 112 McLaren. Kopats in the BMW, the 226. Adam Anderson just out on track just now, again on the exit off Tosa in that purple and yellow iconic livery. Canzo, the number 88 Mercedes, the black and red, with 2 red racing stripes down the middle for Canzo. TOK in the 911 Porsche, just moving out. They're making an overtaking move, or being overtaken rather, by the GT3. Beverman makes his return back to multi-class Mondays after 2 weeks off, and he'll be in the Ginetta, one of the 2 Ginettas on the field today. Naisbitt as well, also making an appearance, and the Porsche Cayman. McCutcheon sitting in the pits in the Audi, had a great performance last time out. We've got Dean as well in the 57 McLaren, and rounding them all off, our double winner last time out, Ed Sterling in the number 20 Ginetta. So let's see if we can catch some action out there as we've got another couple of minutes left. We'll see if Rowinski can find any more time. He gets lovely using the full racetrack there. Yellow flags out there, I wonder why that is. Nothing's really shown why. The cross the line did not improve. So let's just watch a couple of cars in the pit lane. They need to be very careful. That's, I think, McCutcheon in the Audi GT4 class. Some lights flashing there, showing their frustration. It is only free practice. As they come now through the Villeneuve chicane. Tricky one, this one. Tricky. Left, right, complex. Need to corner while braking. Hard braking zone into Toza, double apex hairpin. The blue McLaren just gets out of the way of the GT3 runners. Three close together there. Through the left-hander at the top off the hill. Tricky one to get right. Be careful not to run over the white lines and take track limits with you. Into Aqua Minerale now. Another tricky braking zone. I think maybe crossed the white lines. Variante Alta. Tricky chicane, high sausage curbs. A little bit of a straight now that isn't a straight as you come over this crest, through the Sully banner. Bring the car over to the right hand side, hard on the brakes, into Ravazza 1. The second Ravazza is a little bit faster, opens the corner up. Always easy to dip a wheel in the gravel on the exit as we see the green and gold Porsche 2 in the background. Take it over to the right hand side for the shortest run to the line. And I think Walensky has been made invalid on that lap. So it's Ben Berriman been out for 2 weeks now, making their return to action this evening. They are in the Ginetta, which has proven to be a very good car around the corners. But this is where they might struggle today on the straight lines. Massive straight on at Imola into the Tamburello chicane is where Berriman will be vulnerable in the race. The rest of the track though will suit this Ginetta down to a T. Looks pretty solid there for Berriman as he comes now into the Villeneuve chicane. Very late on the brakes, a little bit of trail braking, feathers off the brakes. Weeding all off the track nicely. Full control. Early turn in there. Yep, double apex corner. That Ginetta just sticks to the inside. So let's have a quick look at the championship. We'll see where the battles are in this championship just now. So in the GT3 split, Adrian Hanowitz is currently in first place but doesn't appear to be in the server yet. There he is, he's joined now, there he is. So that's the blue, white and yellow Porsche we'll be looking out for. That's the current championship leader, 39.5 points ahead. And then we have Raf, who's also not set a time, in second, 30 points behind on 430. On 417 points we have Alexander Rosnov, and fourth place we have Apostolopoulos out there just now, still currently circulating. We'll keep an eye on them just now. Stuart Robinson in the 11 Ferrari is in fifth. Tom Cotton, who again does not seem to be here tonight, currently sixth in the championship. That will maybe go away tonight, as in Turantakis is seventh, just 52 points behind. Adam Kaspar again doesn't seem to be in the server yet, though still 1 minute 30 to join. Miali in ninth. Again, don't see them in the server either. Chris Knight 10th. Sven Frankenberg, who participated last week, is not here yet either. Strelitz 12th. Zaitsev is 13th. Peter Dalton is not here either, but Jamie Christie is making, I think, their first race. There they are, their first race this season. In the GT4 Championship is a lot more tight. Up front we have Ed Sterling on 488.5 points. And that's them there, yet to set a time, but they are on track. So Ed Sterling's leading the way with Will Friedman, who again is yet to join the server. Friedman absent in second place in the GT4 Championship, not here yet. McCutcheon is in third, dragging that Audi into the current podium positions on 392 points. Kind of away on his own there, 358 points behind is Adam Anderson in the McLaren. James Dean currently 5th on 347. High grade again. High grade's not in the championship in the server yet either. What of missing drivers? Is the checkered flag for practice dropped? High grade's not here. And they're currently 6th. Canzo 7th. Still out there. Sperano's going for a lap, see if they can take P1 provisionally. Myself, the captain, is currently in 10th place in the championship, but not participated in the last 3 races, including this one. Kopax is in 11th, Naisbitt in 12th, again only with one appearance this season. Darren Davies, who is not here this evening, brings up the rear with 51 points. So that's the championship positions. We await the final laps being completed in qualifying. It's in practice for qualifying to get underway. Qualifying rules, you would think, are simple, but every week there is some issues. But the GT3 cars should get the first 10 minutes of the 20-minute session, exclusive use of the track for them, and then in the second 10 minutes should be exclusive use of the track for the GT4 cars, just to make sure they separate at the start, and that should prevent any unwanted accidents. But Sperano now coming round Ravazza, through Ravazza to the back end, drifting nicely through there, neat and tidy. We'll see if Sperano can shift Anderson out of first. Come to the start finish line now. Improves, but does not move up a position. A couple of other cars just coming over the line there, but nothing doing.
Green line, give it all you can.
So we've now got the first cars just beginning to leave the pit lane. Got Edwards out near the front, but it looks like there was a blue McLaren there out in front, the number 48 car. That is Edwards, but there's one just in front of them. The 45 of Apostolopoulos. So both McLarens in the GT3 and the GT4 class running particularly well. What a camera angle that is, right up to the car's front bumper. And Turin Takis now just leaving the pit. Everyone now leaving the pit lane. Only a couple of people still to leave. Knight out, positioned just in front of, I think, who is that? Friedman's joined the server. Friedman has made it in. Second place in the GT3 Championship. Sorry, GT4 Championship. They have made the server, so it won't be a runaway race. For Sterling, there'll be some competition for the sharp end of the championship. Naisbitt and McCutcheon still sitting in that pit lane. Edwards out there, and a lot of drivers sitting there. It's Rosnov. Rosnov's now creating a gap tonight. Christie out at the back now as well. Again, we're looking to see just what they can do in that new Ferrari. Out just in front of Hanowitz as well. Hanowitz gets Aqua Minerale all wrong on the outlap. As the drivers are now beginning to start their laps, what we'll do is we'll just quickly jump on board with Alexander Rosnov for a flying lap off this Imola circuit in the GT3s. So into Tamburello, very careful not to take too much of those curbs. As you can see, it can displace the car. Rosnov has it under control. Down the short straight now. The quick left right of the Villeneuve chicane, braking while cornering, takes a lot of that inside corner. This lap may become invalid. We've got yellow flags out for the 141 car. That is Jamie Christie, who is off at Ravazza. As we've just seen Rosnov come through, toes a hairpin up the hill, slight right kink into the left hand corner at the top of the hill, which I keep forgetting the name of. Kisses the apex so nicely, uses the curb just to turn the car in at the exit. Tricky braking zone now into Aqua Minerale. Smooth through there, past the house on the right with the washing hanging out the garden. Into Variante Alta. Curbs are high here, but the cars do handle it quite well. Careful not to run too wide onto that runoff area. We're just beginning to close into the back of the red Ferrari in front, under the silly barrier. Hard on the brakes, late braking there from Rosnov. Gets the car slowed down, but didn't trouble the apex too much on Ravazza 1. Does well on Ravazza 2. Now it's a short. All you have to do now is put the right foot down. Keep the car to the right hand side for the shortest run to the line. Lap time's been done now, and Rosnov goes into provisional pole. Great lap there. Next across the line we've got car 227, that's Strelitz in the Ferrari. We'll see where they can jump up to. Across the line, looks like it was, oh no, up into P3. Up into P3, it's a decent lap. 43, the 43 car's running very slowly, that's Luke Prentice. Looks like they've maybe got to, oh, what's happened there? Prentice going very slowly. Looks like recovering from a spin maybe on the way into Ravazza. Totally okay, sending a message onto the chat, and that is totally okay if you want to do that. Please feel free, keep the chat going. Any mentions, of course, will get a shout out. TOK in the 911 Porsche this evening. We'll see how they do in the second half of qualifying, as we're currently watching Prentice in the 43 Porsche recover, it looks like, from a little spin. Big space in the track for them, so some clean air to run in. See what that Porsche's like, sideways through the Villeneuve chicane. Collected it up nicely. Looks like a potentially late apex through the Tosa hairpin. Up the hill, and I'm going to have to find out the name off this corner because I do keep forgetting what it's called. Into Aqua Minerale. Looks like the drivers are flashing the lights through there. I think it is just the sunlight. It is a very hot day out there as well. 42 degrees track temperature. Those tyres will be like marshmallows. We've seen some movement at the top. Rosnov still first. Apostolopoulos running second, and Tuvintakis third. Berlinski fourth. Solakidis in the 46 car in fifth. Knight in sixth. All within a second. Strelitz 7th, Edwards 8th, and Christie, I think, just done a reconnaissance lap. But we're watching Prentice across the line very shortly. Foot down, across the line now, and Prentice has moved up into P3, only half a second down. Great lap from them. Now we've got GT Jamie Christie in the number in 10th just now. What can they do? What can they do? Up into 8th. That's now the top 8 within a second. very close up front. 45, number 45 has spun, yellow flags out. There's been an accident at Variante Alta. That's Apostolopoulos just recovering back to track now. But the drivers who have yet to set a time, we've got Robinson, who's just behind that just now, and more yellow flags down at Ravazza. That looks like Rosnov. Yeah, driving particularly slowly. The number 2 car at Variante Alta is now in the wall, it looks like. That's a spin, and then the tow truck back to the pit lane. So let's jump on with Zeltsev. Very wide there. Zyatsev, where are they about? That's the Villeneuve chicane into Toza. We'll come back to that one just now. As Robinson goes up into 9th. GT4's now already queuing at the end of the pit lane. That's 242. Dan Naisbitt eager to get going. Robinson heading up the hill. No, that's down the hill, sorry, to the Villeneuve chicane. Now the spot the braking into Toza. Very easy to snatch a front brake and just let it drift wide, but Robinson does the opposite and loses the rear. They'll need to hurry back to the start-finish line if they want to get a lap in. Only 2 drivers in the GT3 yet to set a lap, one of which is the championship leader, Hanowitz. Looks like maybe run wide. Does that went invalid now as well? Nope, still kept the track. Kept it within the track limits. Heading up the hill now to the left-hander of Piratella. Yes, that is what I've got it. And that's wide. That's going to invalidate the lap. It's not, it's still going. Not invalidated the lap just yet. Bounced across the curbs at Aqua Minerale. On the short straight, the quick burst to Variante Alta. Cuts that corner a lot. Again, we'll need to be careful he's not cut too much off that chicane, that the stewards do not invalidate this lap. Hanowitz is pushing this car, there is no doubt about that. Just clips enough curb to get the car rotated. And again, the back of that Porsche just drifting out on the exit of Ravazza. Where does he go? Across the line, only into P9. 10 seconds left for qualifying. Will the number 43 Apprentice cross the line in time? That was close. I don't think Prentice crossed the line in time. That should be their qualifying over. But they went into pole. Prentice, you need to come into the pit at the end of that one. You did not make it in time. Yeah, Prentice is pulling over now. So we'll see who else has still got to come through. We've got 48, the 48 car of Edwards still out there circulating. Everyone up to car number 38, as you can see on the driver tracker, will get to finish their laps as they come round Ravazza. These gaggle of 3 cars. Gaggle, of course, being the collective term for a group of GT3 cars. And Edwards up into P5th. Rosnov improves as well and takes pole off Prentice. Cracking lap from Rosnov. We didn't catch all of that one, but a great lap. Takes pole off Prentice by 1.5 tenths. Knight just behind there as well. Robinson comes through now to see if they can improve from 11th, and they do, up into 10th. One more car to come across the line. We've just missed, I think it was Strelitz. There's 12th. So that is the GT3's qualifying over. Rosnov, Prentice and Knight take the top 3. Raf, Edwards, Rolinski, Apostolopoulos and Turintakis, Christie, Robinson, Hanowitz, Strelitz and Zaitsev. We'll come back to see exactly how they're doing. Naisbitt was very keen to get qualifying underway and sat at the pit lane for over 2 minutes. They will be out first, and TOK, the Totally OK Porsche 911 behind them in second. And Sterling, the championship leader, will be the first 3 to cross the lines here. So let's see what they can do as we run on board with Dan Naisbitt through Tamburello. And the GT4 looks very steady, if unspectacular so far. Over to the right, we'll see how the GT4s handle the Villeneuve chicane. The brakes, of course, a lot more tricky. That looked like it was just kept within the white lines. The 888 car of Anderson's already went invalid, as has the 112 of Sperano. That's the 2 McLarens. McCutcheon now leaving the pit lane as well. And Canto. So that's now all the GT4s out on track. Car 8 of Friedman starts the lap as well. 57 of Dean, and that is also the 226 of Kopak. So that's all the GT4s now out on track. No more GT3s on track. No penalties should be dished out. Pixel of Chaos in the chat. Any interesting facts about Imola? Yes, Imola starts with the letter I and is in Italy, which is in Europe, which is on planet Earth. And Naisbitt now comes out of Ravazza over to the right hand side. Takes the path of least resistance. I think this might have been a reconnaissance lap as he crosses the line invalid. TOK sets the target time, which has just been obliterated by Sterling. The Pixel there staying educational and entertaining. Fire, fire, you're darn right. If anything, you can say that it's factual. Imola does indeed start with the letter I. Now a lot of cars coming round now. The 778 of McCutcheon, as we wait for the car graphics to load on the game there. Across the line, McCutcheon puts it into last of the current runners. Kanzo, that engine sounds like an absolute beast coming out of that corner. Friedman, second in the championship in the BMW, the number 8 car. Across the line. No, there he is, up into P4. Still a second and a bit behind Sterling. A couple of the drivers yet to set a valid lap. Of those who have, we have Sterling, Berberman and the Ginettas, as we said, do look to be a particularly quick car. TOK in the Porsche, doing a good job. Friedman second in the championship, currently in 4th in qualifying. McCutcheon, who absolutely hates his Audi, in 5th, as we can see why he hates the Audi so much as he runs wide. And again on the corner that I have forgot. Peratella, it's Peratella. He's run wide on Peratella, so that will now be invalid. Dean and Canzo. So Naisbitt now comes across the line and he's dragging along that Porsche behind him. That'll be a little bit of a slipstream. Naisbitt goes up into 5th, displaces McCutcheon. That looks like a Mercedes maybe? Is that a Porsche? 2 Porsches running side by side there. Who is the other Porsche? It's TOK. TOK has just been dragged with a slipstream up into provisional pole. Canzo through Ravazza 1 into Ravazza 2. Yellow flags out. I think that is just a game glitch for the cars in the pit lane. For the GT3s it must be. Canzo now crosses the line. Can he improve? He does. He improves up into P4. Car number 8 Friedman and number 57 Dean both on invalid laps, but the 226 of Kopac's yet to set a time. That's a nice looking liveried car. We won't forget that one. And Kopac's goes up into P4. Sperano now out the pit lane. Sperano will be the last of the GT4 runners to set a lap, as Naisbitt, it looks like, has potentially just ran a little bit wide on Variante Alta. So what we'll do is we'll come now on board with Sterling. Through the final turn. We'll see Sterling now comes across the line just up ahead to see if they are able to recapture provisional pole for the GT4s from TOK. He improves, but not enough. 400th of a second, 40 milliseconds separate first and second. Anderson now in third, a couple of tenths behind. Can they improve? Yes, but not by enough again. We're seeing all the drivers improve, but no one improving by enough to change position. We'll come on board with McCutcheon now, who is now on a valid lap. Up through the gears of the Audi. McCutcheon, the line comes up now just on the right next to the Marshall post. Doesn't move a position again. Canso in behind. Can they improve? No, nobody really improving. It's a very hot track. But the drivers coming across the line now will have one more chance. This Friedman will be first to cross the line. Will Naisbitt and TOK get round in time to have one more lap? That is the question. It's going to be close. It's a fantastic camera shot there. You see all the cars on lap 1. We'll get to see that later on. That BMW doesn't look like it loves those curbs too much. This is a crucial lap for the GT4 Championship, as Friedman almost runs across the white line but just keeps one wheel over it. And it looks like Naisbitt is going to get across the line to start another lap. He is. TOK in behind will also get the chance. Anderson, the 888 McLaren, also makes it. And the 518 of Berriman, the purple, yellow and pink. Ginetta again just across the line, 7 seconds to go, and that is it. The 778 of McCutcheon. Oh no, Berriman has thrown in the towel. That's it for them. Must have run out of fuel. So Canzo will be next across the line. It looks like Naisbitt's also thrown in the towel. McCutcheon crosses the line now. That's their time over. Canzo does not improve. Cannot improve. We've got 3 cars in close succession here. That looks like a McLaren. Is that? It's not Anderson. Must be Dean, maybe, or Soprano. And Kopac's in behind, and the 112 as well. Yep. What's happened here? Kopac's. No one improves. That made my job a lot easier there. Nobody improving, so there's 2 cars left on track. And that's the 911 Porsche of TOK and the 888 of Anderson. That's first and second. So this is now a shootout for pole position on the GT4 Championship. Brings the car over to the right, and you can see the front of that car dipping down. Gets the curb very nicely on exit, and is that run right? Has that invalidated the lap for TOK? He is still attacking the line and not entered the pit lane, so it takes it over to the right hand side. Both cars have went invalid. So that is qualifying finished on this very hot Imola track. So let's have a look at the order where I fix the camera controls. So Rosnov has taken pole position by 1.5 tenths from Prentice. Even closer behind, 30 milliseconds behind, we've got Knight, who is now in the chat. Hello. Starting the grid on P3. Solakiris, Raf, in 4th position in the 46 Skechers Audi. Edwards in 5th, sporting the green and gold. Verlinski also driving the Porsche, 75 Porsche, the grey and black liveried car we can see there. Apostolopoulos, the 45 McLaren, which did show a lot of promise in practice. Will be starting from the 4th row alongside Turin-Takis in the number 2 Porsche. Jamie Christie making their first appearance this evening in the purple and green Ferrari. In 9th, and row 5 will be Robinson. Hanowitz, the championship leader, down there in P11, and it looks like we've maybe got somebody left the pits there. That's Rolinski still in the pits. Rolinski's left the server, and that's left a gap on the grid, so we'll see if he can get back into the server before the race starts. He has got 2.5 minutes. So that will promote Hanowitz up into 10th. Strelitz will be 11th. Zaitsev will be 12th. And all the GT3s are grouped together, so there won't be any slow moving GT4s in causing a potential accident on the first lap. For the GT4 class, we have Adam Anderson taking pole position from TOK with a totally OK performance. Sterling, the championship leader, is in 3rd. Sperano 4th. Row 3 of the GT4s will be Kopacz and Kanzo. Berryman is alongside Friedman, who is 2nd in the championship. McCutcheon, who has made a bit of a thing of starting further back and carving their way through the field, will be 21st. Naisbitt will be on the back row with Dean. And that is the grid for the 75-minute special here at Imola. Been asked to check if my mic is on. Yes, I have checked. It definitely is on. It is. I've checked. I've been on YouTube. I've double checked. I can see it. That's us there. Let's double check again. It is definitely streaming. No issues like last week. So this race, it's looking like a hot one. Let's see if we can quickly have a little look. So it's going to be 3 PM. This race is going to start. It's going to get a little bit cooler. I don't think it'll be too much cooler, but 32 degrees air temperature, 34 degrees track temperature. What's happened at the back of the grid there? Rolinski has rejoined and not taken the original qualifying slot.
20 seconds.
Rolinski has made it back into the server at least, so they will get to take part. Yes, Pixel, I have had my own YouTube up. I can hear myself. Nice try. But I'm going to just double check just in case. Absolute troll you. A couple of cars being kicked from the server there. Or maybe they've not taken the grid, not hit driving time. So some pit lane starts, maybe looking to avoid the chaos at the start. As Rosnov gets us underway. I suggest if you're having difficulty hearing the stream, Pixel, to turn the volume up. That may be my solution for you there. As we've now got Prent and a little bit of the field bunching up there, Raf. Try and keep a steady pace, guys. It's never nice when you're ghosting someone. And Tuvintakis is in the pit lane. They will not be taking the starting grid. Looking to start from the back. No hint of rain, unlike last week, where Silverstone was just toying with us with the weather. This Monday night will be absolutely bone dry. Like I said, we're looking for one pit stop, mandatory for fuel. It looks like we've got two GT3s at a position now. No, and Tuvintak is still in the pit. We have Rolinski in 22nd. Will they be allowed to retake their position? I don't think they will. I think they'll have to start at the back there, which is not great for them. Rosnov just getting the tyres up to temperature. Knight is an interesting one. Definitely has the pace. Has had some issues with reliability the past couple of races, so hopefully they can get on top of that and pose a threat through this next hour and 15 minutes. Christie as well is another one, a little bit of a dark horse. Not raced much this season, but should be up there towards the end of the rate. And the championship, Lena Hanowitz very keen to get those tyres up to temperature. And they'll have a lot to do because second and third place, Solakidis and Rosnov, will be desperate to capitalise on that poor qualifying. Strelitz and Zaitsev bringing up the rear there. Stelling, the championship leader as well, down in third, but second place Friedman all the way back there, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th position, so 5 positions there between them. They'll be looking to take advantage of that, but as we ready ourselves now, Rosnov brings them up slowly, closes the pack in. We see there is a gap there for the number 2 car. They'll be in the pit lane as the race gets underway, as we come onto the starting grid now. Rosnov on the left, we have Prentice on the right in the green, Knight and Raf behind them 3rd and 4th. And we wait the green flag as we cross the line to get us underway.
Green light.
And we are green. The green light is out and we are underway at Racing Series Europe, round 7 at Imola, and we've got Prentice pulling alongside Rosnov, and they've got the speed of that BMW gets Rosnov up in front, and Raf thinks about it as a small tap as they come through. Tamburello, everyone else seems to have got through okay. GT4's behaving. Anderson okay. Sterling in order, still at front. We've got one slow moving car, that's Kanzo. We just missed what happened there. As we've got Prentice in second, it is Rosnov that leads us away from Raf in third, who's got ahead of Knight. Postolopoulos there in fourth. Wait for the driver tracker to update itself. The number 88 car of TOK, I think that is. No, it's not. Who is in the pits? It's Kanzo. Kanzo was the one who had the accident there in the pit lane. And Tuvintakis has got us underway as well from the pits as Rosnov comes through Variante Alta under severe pressure from Prentice in that green Porsche. We'll see nothing happening there as Rosnov defends the inside line into Variante Alta. A lot of action going on just behind as we've got Hanowitz making a move down the inside. We've got a blue McLaren cutting across the chicane. GT Jamie all over the runoff area. Great start from Hanowitz, up from 10th into 7th, and that's what you would expect from the championship leader as Rosnov still in first. Prentice under pressure from the Audi of Raf, and I think that will continue now on to the start finish straight as the speed of that Ferrari will show. Christie, it looks like really holding up Robinson and Zaitsev. This is a great start there as well. Strelitz and Walensky pulling at the back of the GT3s. Anderson still leading the GT4s. We'll come back to that in a second as Rosnov has taken, still in first place. Prentice in second, a little bit out of shape. Canzo, I do apologise that we just missed it on the stream. We just caught you going slowly, so I don't think we have a picture of it here. You're more than welcome to have a look later on and rewind it to see if it's possible to catch out who it was. Edwards in fifth, just ahead of Knight. Hanowitz up into sixth now. What a start from Hanowitz. And they are not out of this one yet. A whole hour and 15 minutes to go, and they are not showing any mercy with their pace. So let's have a look at the GT4s very quickly while we can. Anderson in first. We've got a blue McLaren spinning. That's Sperano into the wall. And that's a big crash on Sperano. That's a lot of damage to be had. Anderson out in front, ahead of TOK. Sterling in third. Sperano, there you go, having the accident. They won't be aiming for. That looks like Friedman now up into fourth place. Kopak in fifth. Berriman sixth. Dean seventh, and Tuantakis and the GT3 making their way through the GT4 cars. McCutcheon and Sperano there with the damage. Naisbitt looks like may have had an accident. There may have been Naisbitt involved with the accident with Canzo at the start. As we come to watch Rosnov complete lap 2 and get us underway on the third lap of this race, leading from Prentice by half a second. The same gap to Raf behind. Knight just dropping off, defending hard from Edwards. A little bit out of control with the curbs. Edwards all over the back now. We see, all we can see is the back of that Ferrari, the pink 51, right in our face. Ferrari very good on the brakes. And that is Hanowitz looking to make a move. Hanowitz has spun! Hanowitz lost the rear, and we've also got Apostolopoulos in the wall at Toza. Careful on the rejoin as the cars come through, but that is a big blow to Hanowitz this evening. We'll see if they are able to still work their way through with some damage. There is a pit stop that everyone will have to take. They may opt to fix the damage at that point, but that's a big accident into the wall there. Anderson just been taken by, I think that's the GT4 car, so Anderson's still ahead of TOK. Sterling under pressure now from Friedman, who's made the way up. Friedman thinks about a move down the inside, nothing doing this time round. It's a very hard place to overtake there. Berriman in fourth place, also in that Ginetta, just keeping touch with those in front. Great start from Zaitsev, up into 7th. Strelitz now will be defending from the current championship leader into Tamburello, and that Porsche is using that toe to gain a little bit of acceleration, and with a couple of kilometres an hour on the brakes now, the Ferrari's going to have the line, but Hanowitz takes the inside and makes that corner theirs. And Strelitz will need to defend from Rulinski, who is now thinking about a move. I think we've got Naisbitt rejoining from the pits. Very close to contact there, but all clean so far. A little bit defensive into Toza, that might cause you to be vulnerable on the exit. Hanowitz still all over the place. So Prentice, after the initial charge on Rosnov, just backed off a bit and into the hands of Raf Solakidis. We've got Apostolopoulos in the pit lane, the 45 GT3 driver. Naisbitt and Sperano have cleared the pit stop. Both of these two, Prentice and Solakidis, running wide there in Variante Alta. Into Ravazza, not this time. Raf is definitely interested. Definitely looks to be the faster car at this point in time, and this is where the Porsche will be vulnerable. We know the Porsche does carry quite a lot of drag with that big rear wing. The Audi, one of the fastest cars in a straight line on the grid. Not enough this time, not a good enough exit. Strelitz and Robinson now alongside each other. Hanowitz and Robinson alongside each other. Hanowitz makes the move down the inside, and we've got Knight. Knight is off the track at Tamburello, as is Strelitz in behind, and that's dropped them further down the grid. Knight having another accident. We've got the 45 car, Apostolopoulos, leaving the pit lane, and amongst them GT4 drivers. Naisbitt has rejoined the pack, and that looks like maybe a lap and a bit down, possibly from the accident at the start. Canzo is also back on the pits. That's good to see. Canzo has rejoined the race, and that is what we like to see, as much people finishing the race as possible. So Robinson just keep in touch with Hanowitz. The next person up the road is Zaitsev, who has had a fantastic start, it must be said. And that looks like Friedman's just made a move on Sterling into Toza, which isn't the easiest place to overtake. That Ginetta is so good, and almost on two wheels coming around that corner, but you can see the speed difference, how good that Ginetta, the yellow car, is at cornering. Into Variante Alta now, braking on the curbs. Great skill being shown. And Friedman pulls over to the right, and I think the Ginetta's thinking about a move here. Into Variante Alta. Will it be this time around? Not this time. Not this time from Sterling Berman, just keeping those honest just in front. And we will keep an eye on the battles up top as well. As Knight, it looks like they've maybe fell further down the order into 9th now. And Tuvintaki's caught the back of J Christie after their pit lane start. And that BMW is just so much faster than the Ginetta in a straight line. And this is a move now for second place. Friedman applying the pressure. The Porsche moves over to defend the inside line. Friedman will have the better exit into the Villeneuve chicane, which is the next set of corners. We can already see the extra drive they've had, but they'll be compromised as well, and that will allow Sterling to make a move. But Friedman's taking the inside line into the chicane. Do they touch them alongside each other? It's so close, and there's contact. The Porsche over the curbs, understeers into Friedman, and that's allowed. Oh, it's so close as well. Kopac's almost braking early into the path of Friedman. And that's put Friedman now back into 6th place, just ahead of Danny McCutcheon. So let's jump back up front. We've got Raf Solakidis in 3rd, still applying the pressure to Prentice as they've just went through the first of their GT4s now. I think that's Canzel who's been recovered from the pit lane. Walensky attacking hard against Robinson, going to the inside line again into the Villeneuve chicane. Not a normal overtaking position as we've just seen. Need to be careful with those curbs as they can run you wide. Great driving by these two, all in control, and that's Walensky. Got the inside line into Toza. The Ferrari will be able to run wide, maybe get the better exit up the hill. But I think that job is a good one, and that is over for those two just now. So Knight is still in front of Strelitz. Christie has just been taken by Tuvintakis. I think Christie's maybe sporting a little bit of damage. Look at the front of that Ferrari. It's definitely sporting a bit of front wing damage that will be impacting their downforce and their speed. Not wanting to pit so early, of course. We do have, I think, a GT4 about to be overtaken. I think that's Kanzo, the 88 car, been taken by Zaitsev, and the next one behind will be Hanowitz, who is looking to charge through the field. One driver we will keep our eye on will be Dan Naismith, who has made the pit stop early in the GT4. As Hanowitz pulls out to take the GT4 driver now. Clean move. No controversies there. This leading three all seem to be very closely matched in pace with each other. Come through Piratella into Acqua Minerale. Do you think this is one of the most challenging corners that these drivers will come across all season? Audi navigates the chicane very nicely under the silly advertising board. Hard on the brakes. We've got car number, I think that's there, who's that in the pit lane? Some cars in the pit, it looks like. No, we don't. We've got a very slow moving car there. Again, I think that's just people coming round Kanzo now. Next one to pass will be Knight. Needs to be careful not to make contact. The GT4 does have right of way. Knight does a good job waiting patiently to do the move on the straight. As we look backwards on McCutcheon's rear wing, and we can just see the pressure being applied by TOK, and I think number 57 Dean is just keeping them honest as well. And that's the mistakes from both of the drivers, and that's going to drop OK into the hands of Dean a little bit. Maybe put them on the back foot. These three are looking very close now. We've got Berriman just holding off Friedman, with Kopacz just in front. But Friedman's looking very much like he wants to stick that BMW down the inside. Not this time around. Takes it easy as McCutcheon doesn't trouble the apex into Ravazza 1. Gets a so it's not McCutcheon, that is Berriman in the Ginetta. Not the greatest exit, and the speed of that BMW is going to put Berriman under a lot of pressure into the Tamburello chicane, but that move might even been done long before then. Yeah, that move's already done before they get to the braking zone. And that's Friedman now up into fourth after the little bump earlier on. And Tuantakis now coming to get around the GT4 driver, needs to be careful. God, it's very sensible driving. We'll wait until they exit, and very close. Looks like a small mistake on exit from Kanzo, but not this. No contact. Nothing to be concerned about this time around. So let's see who is close together on the track. Knight all over the back of Robinson, Knight's lost the rear. That Ferrari just pivoted round almost majestically, but Knight loses the rear. Got to rejoin safely as well. Ah, so unlucky for Knight for that to happen. It looked so under control. They had the pace as well, but the back end just a little bit of a tank slap over the curbs maybe. As Christie is into the pits. Maybe fixing the damage this time around as well, but the interesting thing as we see is the leaders are now lapping the GT4s, and that looks like an issue back there for Prentice, now under severe pressure from Raf. Raf will have the inside line into Ravazza 1, but not the racing line. We'll see what happens here as the Porsche leaves one car width on the inside. And that's enough to keep the Audi behind for this time as the exit is not compromised by the GT4 runner, and Prentice somehow retains P2 through that barrage of GT4 cars. Rafkus beats him under braking as well, just for good measure. We've got McCutcheon now just in front of these two. And crucially, Prentice got to take the racing line there, while Raf had to take a compromised entrance. And that's opened up now a little bit of a gap to Voronov as well, who is currently navigating these close battlers in the GT4 Championship. Thanks to that, I move up the inside of Friedman, doesn't throw it down the inside. Again, Friedman does have the priority here. The two BMW drivers. And Friedman gets past, and we just look at Prentice as well, gets past the Ginetta. And Raf does not. Unfortunately, is one of the factors of racing. Look at the traffic. You can just see the issues that it's causing. Prentice throws it down the inside off. Well, Mr. Friedman might not be too happy with that one as Raf patiently waits his time. Prentice now on the back of Kopacz. Does it under braking. Kopacz does not turn in. GT4 does have light to the racing line. And that will potentially now put Friedman in a position to make a move on the fellow BMW driver. We've got some more drivers at the back there making their way through the GT4 drivers. I don't know where to look at this point in time. There's a lot going on. Let's jump on to Friedman. That one's for position. Nothing doing this time around. Nope, not this time. And the GT3s, and that's Hanowitz just getting past them both into Tamburello. And two Intakis and Knight still on the lead lap. Anderson. Who is that? Who's alongside them? That's Dan Naisbitt being lapped or unlapping himself. And Christie is still in the pits. That doesn't look like a regular stop. That might be a retirement. As we see the leaders now coming through this lot, as the leader threw past Naisbitt. And where is Naisbitt gone? He's still there. He's still there as Raf and Prentice has gone past. Raf all over the curbs there. We've now got Sterling on their pursuit of Anderson. Only a couple of seconds behind, coming to lap them now as well. Robinson all over the back of Strelitz. This time around, not this time into Variante Alta. That looks a little bit deep into the braking zone by Strelitz, who's over the curbs on the runoff area. Look how close they are. There's the contact there. That was very close. The Strelitz gets deep into Ravazza 1. That compromises Ravazza 2. And that is Robinson through up into P8. Prentice now, see this front three have just yo-yoed back and forward in pace. Edwards coming to lap, I think that's Anderson, is it, in the 88 car? The 888 car, sorry. It is indeed. As Edwards now through cleanly. Walensky is the next to get through this bunch of cars. You see Walensky just offline. Careful through into Piratella, and that's contact again. The GT3 forcing the GT4 off track and losing the position. Friedman lost the position there. Friedman in the wars this evening. Robinson are coming through the pack after just taking Strelitz. Will need to be careful not to hit the back of the GT4, and has done, but that's opened the door for Strelitz to take, and there's contact, and they've made a big crash reminiscent of Nikita Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. Very similar incident. That is a big impact for Strelitz, who's almost in the way of Knight as Knight goes through. That's Strelitz now at the back of the field. That's a McLaren going past now as well. Oh my goodness, what a couple of laps this has been. Fantastic racing, and we watched some premature donuts from Strelitz. Don't worry son, it happens to the best of us. Hanowitz now on the back of Zaitsev. Did you see the helicopter cam into the Villeneuve chicane? Hanowitz has definitely had the pace this afternoon. All over the back, Zaitsev gets defensive into Toza, but I can't help but feel that with the pace advantage that he's shown, Hanowitz is driven round the outside of Toza. What a lap, what a overtaking manoeuvre that was. And to think after being in the wars already, and there's almost contact as the Mercedes nearly runs into the back of Hanowitz. And what's happened here? I think Newton Turintakis has got past Robinson, and that GT4 possibly played a part as Strelitz now into the pit lane after his premature donuts. Friedman has pitted. Friedman, after being in the wars, decided that was enough damage and has now jumped into the pits. And we are now 25 minutes into this race, and we have had non-stop action so far. There's always been something to talk about. Canzo, fantastically, great sportsmanship, back out on the track after an incident before turn 1. We'll maybe get to see what happened later on. We've got Naisbitt again, I think potentially involved with the accident at turn 1, not too sure. Didn't catch it, but they were behind and took an early pit stop. Friedman has also taken an early pit stop after being in the wars. Apostolopoulos started from the pit lane. But let's have a little look. Who's close to each other on track? Who's closely battering? We've got number 2 of Turintakis fighting their way through the GT4 drivers, not racing in the same class. The GT4s do have priority to the racing line. Bit of common sense should be shown, however. Car behind us faster, just let them through. But the story of today, 2 seconds, they've got a couple of cars exiting the pit lane. They've got Apostolopoulos, I think, into the pit lane actually. So that'll be them completing their stop now, a little bit early. Maybe you're thinking the tyres going off, looking for the extra grip that may give you. Might be important in this race, given the track temperature. The stories of this race are, we've got Rosnov out in front, similar pace to Prentice, similar pace to Solakidis. The front 3 closely matched. Zaitsev had a fantastic start from, I think it was 8th or 9th, potentially 11th, actually up to 6th. They're running as high as 5th at one point. Hanowitz, the championship leader, qualifying only in P10. Zaitsev's back in front. Hanowitz has been off. Hanowitz has been off somewhere. We've missed that one. Yep, so Hanowitz has been off and has to make the move again. Hanowitz has been off twice now. Definitely has the pace to make those positions up. Let's just see if they can fight their way through the pack, as Dean has been overtaken by Strelitz, who has made their pit stop. The GT3 driver involved in an accident a couple of minutes ago. Naisbitt and Sperano, although further back, are fighting for position, for P20, and these two are very close on the field, on the track rather. I hope they don't end up on the field, that one won't be good for either of them. As Knight in the GT3 is coming through to lap these two. Racing in a different class, of course. We'll see if they can get through cleanly. Knight goes down the inside of Sperano, round Piratella, and into Variante Alta. Sorry, this is Aquaman Rally. Knight thinks better of it this time, but will use the traction and dive up the inside on the grass. Needs to be careful rejoining. Do not take out the other car. And that's Knight through safely on the curbs. Careful, guys. It's a bit wide there. That will be a track limits warning for Mr. Knight, as Naisbitt keeps the speed up required. Only a second between them and Sperano, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Strolitz has just gone through another couple of cars. Right, let's try and get my bearings here, because I've lost track a little bit of what's going on. So let's run through the grid after half an hour's racing, almost. Rosnov, as you can see there, currently in the lead and has led from the start. As it comes to lap Mr. Friedman in the GT4s. Prentice is in P2, only a couple of tenths behind, and another half second behind is Raf Solakidis, keeping the pressure on Prentice in the Porsche. Edwards in 4th, Zaitev in 5th, Walensky 6th, Hanowitz championship leader in P7, and Torentakis in P8, Robinson 9th, Knight 10th. Strolitz has pitted, as has Apostolopoulos. Back in the pits again. Are they done? Anderson leads the GT4s, with Sterling now closed the gap right up behind. And we've got a car coming through to lap. We'll see what impact this has on these. We'll follow these guys just now, as Sterling lets Knight go down the inside of Variante Alta. And we'll now watch Knight on the back of Anderson. We'll see which way Knight goes. It's a lot of a kink in this straight. Knight goes round the outside, uses the GT3 superior speed and downforce, makes the move cleanly. Raf only 2 tenths behind Prentice now. We've got car number 51 jumping into the pit lane. That is Knight. Knight making his pit stop now. It must be said that Raf is looking particularly quick at this point in the race. This is the view on board of car number 46, the Audi R8, the Skechers car. And we can see the grip of that Porsche on the rear, the tyres just beginning to fall away in these scorching temperatures here at Imola. The Porsche feels the need to go defensive into Ravazza. Raf still thinks about it. The Porsche not troubling that apex, gets it together and gets the exit sorted onto the main straight. That's good driving, but it's only a couple of tenths still in it between these two, as we watch Raf use the toe to close that gap down, ever decreasing. Does Raf think about it this time? Nothing doing this time around into Tamburello. We've got cars coming out of the pit lane. That's the 51 of Knight leaving the pits. Number 38 coming through to put a lap on. I think that's Hanowitz coming to put a lap on Knight. Yes, it is. The Knight has now completed the pit lane. Careful on exit. Don't want to go and shred those tyres immediately after coming out off the pits. So we've now got a situation where all the cars seem to be in one part off the track. Sterling all over the back of Anderson now. This has been slowly coming to a head for a couple of laps. And we'll jump back and forth between these battles because Raf Tsolakidis is all over the back of Prentice. Thinks about it in the inside, and the Porsche leaves the room. And they're alongside, so they will not get the exit that they want. Both will be compromised as the Porsche jumps into the pit lane. That gives Raf the lead. The Porsche now, Prentice, he'll come into the pits, and what we'll just do now, Triple Eight's off. Anderson has had an accident. What has happened? Anderson and Sterling both going slowly. Sterling's now through. Sterling has taken the lead of the GT4 class. And that's a long stop. That's Tyres. Prentice is putting tyres on the car. But the big story just now has to be Anderson and Sterling. Looks like there was an accident. Didn't quite catch what happened. Anderson runs very wide over the curbs and has slowly moved back into Kopach's grasp. And while all this is happening as well, Friedman is out there in clean air, putting clean laps in, lap after lap. Prentice has cleared his pit stop and is well in front of Knight. So no further issues, he'll rejoin in P9. Anderson are into the pits. Sterling continues on. You have to wonder what happened there with Anderson. Was there an accident? Was there contact? But Kopach just came in the pits as well. This is a pit stop race. As they go through the Ferrari of GT Jamie, as they both stop. And we'll see which of these two gets out first. This is now a pit race in the pits. Edwards also into the pits in the GT3s. The tension is rife here as the pit crews, as you cannot see obviously. Pit crews racing each other. Who can get out first? The McLaren of Anderson or the BMW of Kopach's? It looks like they're both off the jacks at the same time. Similar pit stop times, and they leave the pits line astern. How boring for us. The Tuvintakis comes through. The number 11 of Robinson, the GT3. Are they going to be held up? No. I think we're going to rejoin in clean air. The next car through will be Strelitz, 2 laps down. As we're beginning to see some cars make their stops, as Sterling closing up on the back of Dan Naisbitt to lap. As you'll notice, a lot of the GT3s have now made their pits, and the GT4s, the GT3s have yet to make their pit stops. The GT4s have elected to take their pit stops. And another lap goes past where Sterling does not pit, but the interesting one just now is Rosnov, who has Raf behind them. As you can see the gap there, they're on the same screen. Another car dives into the pits. That is another GT4, and Raf's pit now as well. Raf has pitted. So Rosnov takes the lead. There's a bit of breathing room to Edwards now. Zaitsev's going to move up into P3 after starting on 10th and behind. Berlinski moves up as well, who has the current fastest lap. Hanowitz still keeping the pressure on. And Tuvintaki is trying to lap Friedman. GT3 versus GT4. And the big story is now, where does Prentice come out in all of this? Given the length of time Prentice was in the pits, I imagine that was indeed a tyre stop. Let's have a look elsewhere. Anyone else closely battling this now? Hanowitz all over the back of Walensky. I do want to keep a view on this battle here, so we'll keep an eye on that car moving. The 46 is now moving.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Where is Prentice? Coming round with Vatsa too, so this is going to be close. Raf travels along the pit lane at 30 miles per hour, but on board Prentice in the 43 green Porsche. Prentice will know how close it is. You can see Raf on the right hand side. This is fourth position. And that looked like it might have been aggressive. I would want to see that from another camera angle. But Raf not having the pace this time around to jump him in the pits. As we come back to this battle now with Hanowitz on the back of Walensky. Championship leader, fastest lap holder. I can't help but think that Hanowitz is being held up here. Porsche v Porsche, but that is Walensky now into the pits. And that's released Hanowitz, who now has a big gap in front of them to really put the leaders under pressure. Robinson just cleared Friedman. It looks like he may have made a small mistake there. He comes out of the final corner now. The number two car and two Intakis also dives into the pit lane. So all these drivers have went just over halfway. They're just past halfway now. 36 minutes left on the clock. And let's quickly run through the field, as I think I've now got a little bit of breathing time. Rosnov leads the GT3s all the way back to Zaitsev, but both Hanowitz and only 2 seconds behind Zaitsev actually, so that's an interesting one. We'll see that one develop. Got a lapped GT4 in the way there. It's McCutcheon who's driving a very good race. We have a stop-go penalty, 30 second stop-go penalty for Walensky for speeding in the pit lane, and that will probably negate their pace as being the fastest person on track with that fastest lap. And that one's going to sting. So Rosnov, the leader, now into the pit lane, as is Zaitsev, as is Hanowitz. So the top three into the pits. Robinson's still out there all over the curbs, jumping all over the sausage. Don't think that Ferrari's to built on sausage like that. Everyone else has pitted, so Prentice could potentially be up for the lead here as we watch the leaders into the pit, and we've got Berriman in there as well. And that's a bad stop for Zaitsev, who has been registered as crossing the line in first. The number 11 car, Robinson's going to come through now and take the lead of the race. That'll be good for them. And we've got Rosnov away already. That did not look like a tyre change. Zaitsev still in there after a slow entrance to the pits, as is Hanowitz at the back there in the Porsche. Hanowitz off the jacks, foot down, wheels spinning away. Tries to rejoin the race, looking to get a cheap position as Zaitsev off the jacks now as well. As is the GT4 of Berriman. So close from these two. One of them will have to give way, and the thing is, we also have a GT3 battle going on. I don't know if Berriman is aware of this, but they've now separated, and he's put himself in between the two of them. And Hanowitz has crossed. Oh, he's crossed the white line. He has crossed the white line. Oh dear. That one might be taken to the stewards later on. Sterling still out there, still soldiering on, in behind Dan Naisbitt. Fair play to them, has kept going and is now up into 19th. That's a good effort from Naisbitt. Ahead of Dean, Sperano and Canzo, so it's a good drive. A long way to go, of course, as Rolinski's into the pit to serve their stop-go penalty. Now, it might just be me, but the front of that yellow Ginetta looks like it's carrying a little bit of damage. And that might interest Will Friedman. McCutcheon now in the pits. As Rolinski clears the stop-go penalty and I think will rejoin possibly in front of Strelitz. Does indeed, but that's brought Strelitz back into play a little bit. McCutcheon in the pits. Sterling still tucked up behind Naisbitt. Naisbitt not moving out of the way, as we've also got some GT3 drivers joining the back of this pack. As Knight also gets in front of Naisbitt, it follows the Ginetta through and makes the move stick. Nice and clean. So Zaitsev still in front of Hanowitz. Hanowitz getting past some lapped runners. What has happened to Kopax? He was all over the back of Anderson. Has now dropped all the way off. Don't quite know what's happened there, but Friedman is wound up about 4 or 5 corners in front of Anderson. So that's just shown Friedman's pace this afternoon. Sterling still yet to pit. How long can those tyres last? So the pit stops have spread everyone out a little bit longer, a little bit more now. We've got a very close battle developing here. This is the closest battle on track. Zaitsev still in front of Hanowitz. I do think Hanowitz might see a penalty come his way later on after cutting the white line, exiting the pit lane to overtake Berriman. This might be the other battle because they've got Dean now all over the back of Dan Naisbitt. Just been slowly reeling him in, lap after lap. We have got a driver leaving the pit lane. Who is this? No, we don't. We've got 3 drivers in the pit lane, sorry. Dean wringing the neck of that McLaren. It's Robinson we've got in the pit lane. Where are they going to rejoin? Car number 51 coming through now. That's Knight, who's done a very good stint. He's got themselves back up into P8 after spinning off twice. Robinson rejoins in 9th. Behind Rolinski. Car number 20, that's a GT4. That's Sterling now into the pits for their stop. And it's Friedman is the car in question we need to be looking at. Car number 8. Coming down the back straight now into Ravazza 1 and 2. The jack's down. And he's on his way, and Friedman is currently got a GT3 applying the pressure onto the start-finish straight. I think this one is going to be Sterling's to lose at this point in time, but we now have the championship. First and second on track, so that could potentially lead to some exciting stuff, but no, Friedman's through. Friedman has taken the lead off Sterling. Friedman through and Sterling exiting the pit lane just as Friedman is entering the Villeneuve chicane. So that is a change in the lead for the GT4s. Friedman up into P1, Sterling into P2. Great stint by Friedman. We'll see if the tyres can hold out. Track temperature dropped a little bit further now, down to 40 degrees. Hanowitz now all over the back. This one's been coming for quite some time. You see Hanowitz now applying the pressure to Zaitsev. The 223 Mercedes feeling the heat off the back of the Porsche. The battle for 5th place. Both drivers have pitted, so this one will need to be settled on track. The Porsche driver looks like the faster at this point in time. Moves to the inside for Variante Alta. The Mercedes has the racing line. They'll need to be careful as they come through here. Make sure there's no contact. Great driving from Hanowitz. Great car control over the curbs, not to understeer into the side of Zaitsev. That's great driving. As we now look rearwards from the back of that Mercedes as that AMG engine goes up through the gears. One of the fastest straights on the calendar at this point. Up into 6th. Into the braking zone, and that Porsche's weak point is its straight line speed, and we can see the traction. And it's braking into corners as well, how good the Porsche is from looking back the way. They've got yellow flags out for car number 88. Got a GT4 in the way, that is Friedman. Car number 88 is Kanzo, is now back in the pits. I think he's thrown in the towel for this evening as well. And now it's really now applying the pressure. The 38 car, that blue, yellow and white Porsche. Really relentless this evening. 25 minutes to go. Never really been in clear air tonight. Probably found that to be a little bit of an issue for them. We see that Porsche is really good over those sausage curbs. The speed of that Mercedes, however, I think is just enough to keep it ahead in the straight lines. It looks like that Porsche might be getting a little bit of a toll on the start-finish straight, not this time around. They come on board Hanowitz now. This looks like a potential move. Gap closing ever smaller and smaller. It will be very hard to overtake through the Villeneuve chicane, and we see Rosnov feels the, sorry, not Rosnov, Zaitsev feels the need to go defensive into Toza. As Hanowitz has to just back off, turning in to the corner to make sure he doesn't clear out the rear of that Mercedes. And these two really are putting on a bit of a nail biter. Very close through Aqua Minerale. And I wish these two would just give it a rest so I can go and get a drink. We've got yellow flags at car number 57. That's Dean is now into the pits, took the tow truck back to the pit lane. After an incident at Toza, they were around cars number 46. That's Solakidis. 227. That's Strelitz as well. Car number 38 bounces over the curbs on the exit. onto the start-finish straight now. And there's definitely a little bit of a slipstream happening this time around. But as again, look at the speed, the top end speed of that Mercedes is just too much for that Porsche. And that is going to be, I think, the Porsche's downfall as he does not trouble the apex into Tamburello. So Friedman's crossed the line now in the GT4s, and Sterling is 13 seconds behind, and we didn't see what happened, but it looked like there was an accident between Sterling and Anderson, who is a further 9 seconds back as well. So that tells a story for the race. But if I just leave this battle for 2 seconds to look up front, because Prentice has reeled in Rosnov. I think Prentice is going to have the same problem as Hanowicz is having just now as well, because Prentice is in that Porsche with that very big chunky rear wing, and that BMW has got so much grunt in that engine, it just will pull away. Look at this here, look at the gap. The Porsche is supposed to be getting the toe down the straight, and that BMW is just increasing the lead. Let's jump back on with Hanowicz and Zaitsev now as well. Close battles all round this evening. That yellow flag out for car number 57 in the pit lane. That's Dean, who's potentially now thrown in the towel for this evening. These two are coming up to a GT4 car. That looks like Sperano in the McLaren, the 112. And again, oh, there's contact. Hanowicz held up by the GT4 driver, and that's more damage to the front of that Porsche. Hanowicz in the ward this evening, as that is now Sperano off the track at the Villeneuve chicane as well. Hanowitz's front end now will be suffering a little bit. That looks like a little bit of a four-wheel drift for the Mercedes there, coming through Aqua Minerale. We see the gap there within the leaders now, down to just over a second. Raf holding on at the back in third. Great drive from these three, very consistently lapping as well. And that is now Rosnov past another GT4. Hanowicz now very close to the back of the Mercedes. The Mercedes runs wide, but Hanowicz loses the rear as they go past the 242 of Dan Naisbitt, who again, I must say, has done a great job to drag that Porsche from the back of the grid up to P19. I don't think he quite realises what a ding-dong battle these two are having up in front. That Mercedes has been driven to the absolute ragged edge, and the pressure being applied by Hanowicz into Variant. I've got the corners all mixed up now. That is Aqua Minerale, and I think Zaitsev's going to need some Aqua Minerale after this, because the heat has just been turned up by Hanowicz behind. The leader's now going through some lapped cars as well. But this is absolutely thrilling. I cannot look away from it. But Knight is in the pit. Knight's in the pits. Number 18. 18th place for car number 51. Knight is in the pits. What is that for? I will come and investigate that in a second, because we are watching Hanowitz really applying the pressure, as we can see now. It's so close between these two at the front. Zaitsev defends successfully one more time into Tamburello. Hanowitz has got the exit though. Zaitsev compromised. Villeneuve chicane again, not one you can usually overtake into. Hanowitz has tried this a couple of times this evening. It's not been successful, and thinks better of it this time around. These two are so close on track, and it has to be said, Hanowitz is looking like the faster driver at the moment, but the straight line speed of that Mercedes is astronomical. Look at the difference on the exit of these corners as the Mercedes just pulls away. Now, Aqua Minerale, not a corner known for its overtaking. It's unlikely to be done there. We've got a drive-through penalty for Raf. Raf Solakidis in third place has now got a drive-through penalty for track limits. The car number 46 is off the track. 46 in the pit lane. What has happened there? Raf has taken the tow truck back to the pit lane after the drive-through. That might be a retirement. Where were they around about? Car number 48, Edwards 518. That is a Ben Berriman's Ginetta. TOK in the 911 Porsche, about to be lapped by another Ferrari. That is the GT3 Ferrari coming through now. Berriman slowly fell back into the hands of McCutcheon again, who has just kept his nose clean and found himself in a position where he's actually performing a lot better than his qualifying time suggested. Sperano's back on track as well. Hanowitz still stuck behind that big blue and yellow rear end of that Mercedes, but has got a fantastic traction coming out of Toza this time around. And you see, just the speed of that Mercedes is enough to keep it ahead. The Porsche able to turn in early. I think Knight has officially retired from this race as well. Knight's still in the pit lane, down now in 19th. Careful, guys! And that GT4 does have right of way. Makes the move off the track. I'm not sure if that one's okay. There is a lot of pressure going on here, of course. To Zaitsev. It's Zaitsev up and defending fourth place. So well, it needs to be careful on the inside of that GT4 being displaced through the corner. But that might unfortunately be enough to let Hanowitz pass, because look at the difference this time around. Oh, and there's contact! Hanowitz into the rear of Zaitsev, taking out a GT4 in the process. Will Hanowitz give the position back? He is not. He is on his way, and that one will be absolutely going to the steward's room. And you've got to feel it for the 518 Ginetta of Ben Berriman, who had absolutely nothing to do with that, knew nothing about it, and was collected as a result of that crash into Tamburello. Oh my goodness, that one has ended in tears. But the two who will be thrilled with what's happened over the last couple of laps. Where is Raf? We've lost Raf. We've lost Raf as well. So Rosnov and Prentice will be thrilled with what's happened. And look at that there. Raf has let Zaitsev in front, but I think the damage has now been done. the damage has been done as Zaitsev hit the wall. He's going to have to come in and probably fix that damage as they've got 15 minutes left of this race. Pixel Hanowitz having a nightmare today. Yes, Hanowitz has had. It has been in the wars, definitely. He's been involved in quite a lot of action. That can definitely be said. Somebody who has not been involved in a lot of action is Mr. McCutcheon in the 778 Audi. Slowly but surely has been closing the gap on TOK, and slowly but surely Naisbitt has been closing the gap on McCutcheon. Now, there was 20 seconds there. I don't think that gap's going to be closed down at all, but McCutcheon definitely has a shot at making a move past TOK. You've got to feel it for Zaitsev, who was involved in that crash. Not really rear-ended it into Tamburello, and then hit into Berryman, who we can see there also in the pit lane. I wonder if we'll see Berryman charging into the garage like with a Schumacher at Spa back in 1996. Hanowitz still out there. Pretty big gap, I think, to Edwards. Yep. A couple of corners. We'll see if he can make any inroads in that, but I don't think. I think whatever position Hanowitz crosses the line tonight, I don't think they'll continue to be in that position once the stewards have had a look at what's going on tonight. So, as we enter into the closing stages of this race, Rosnov, Prentice and Edwards leading the GT3s, and Friedman, Sterling and Anderson leading the GT4s. Anderson has been making slow inroads towards Sterling, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. But the closest battle on track right now is McCutcheon, who just missed it. Maybe went a little bit deep into Ravazza 1. TOK takes the position back in Ravazza 2. As we look backwards from TOK now, as you see McCutcheon using the toe. McCutcheon now slowly but surely reeling TOK in the Porsche and the Audi. Long-time rivals, of course, in endurance racing. As I think we've got a GT3 trying to make their way through. Centurion-Taki is making their way through there. McCutcheon just losing a little bit there on the front. Walensky just passed a car there as well. We've got the Ginetta of Sterling and the McLaren of Anderson all over those curbs. McCutcheon within half a second of TOK, so good on the brakes. I think the front end of the Audi's just beginning to go away with 9.5 minutes left on the clock remaining. Prentice's charge on Rosnov seems to have dropped off now as well. Hanowitz has caught up 5 seconds on Edwards. Retirements at this point look to be Berryman, Knight, Dean and Christie. We'll see if Berryman... No, Berryman's back on track. Great to see he'll finish and get his points tonight. Zaitsev still in the pits. It might be a while. Oh no, Jack's dropped. There we go. And Zaitsev rejoins the race now as well in ninth and last of the running GT3 cars. Anderson, and just on this crash, that's Anderson and Strelitz, I think. Strelitz and Anderson, different classes. Anderson again in the wars, who was catching up with Sterling, and it's gone from bad to worse for Zaitsev, who has now been given a 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane after that massive crash at turn 1 as well. Not being there evening tonight as TOK still defending frantically against McCutcheon. The unique thing, of course, with these GT4 cars, and they've got the Zaitsev, that Mercedes of Zaitsev, who we've seen so much tonight, just running wide on Toza. McCutcheon definitely looks like the faster car at this stage. As I was saying, the GT4 cars, do carry a lot less downforce, which means they will push their tyres a little bit harder, as their grip will be beginning to just fade in these hot, sticky conditions. And as someone like McCutcheon, who's just been driving steadily, getting the car pointed in the right direction, that will play into their hands fantastically. As we can see now, McCutcheon applying the pressure, turning up the dial to 11, pushing the Audi. The final 6 3/4 minutes. We've got a stop-go penalty. No, we don't have a new stop-go penalty. It's just a reminder of the penalty as TOK tries to break the toe on the start-finish straight. This is the closest battle in the GT4s just now. And OK holds off just now, a little high on the curb. See McCutcheon just reeling him in there. Anderson and Sterling still very close on track, but McCutcheon is the one applying the pressure. Hanowitz not able to make any further inroads into Edwards' lead at this time. For P3, Rosnov still up in front, 4.2 seconds ahead. Is Zaitsev going to serve the penalty this time around? They're just in front of this lot here. A little bit wide there from OK. That shouldn't cost too much time, shouldn't cost them too much. And this battle will of course be costing them both time. Two Naisbitt behind, who I don't think is going to be in a position to catch these two as they get very high on their curbs through Variante Alta onto the silly straight, as I'm going to call it now. It's a very silly straight. That Audi looks so unstable under braking, but seems to have so much more braking power. The 223 of Zaitsev is now into the pits to serve the stop-go penalty. As we see again, Anderson just beginning to close the gap. We need to be careful as we do have a green Ferrari, the GT3 of Robinson now coming through. And then this will be close and dangerous into turn 1, but both GT4s get very close to each other. McCutcheon slams on the brakes to avoid contact. Great driving from Anderson. Sorry, McCutcheon again getting that one wrong all night tonight. Another second being taken out of Edwards' gap with Hanowitz as well. Friedman out in front of the GT4, 20-second gap, and you just wonder if that contact had anything to do with it. The stewards certainly will be busy in the next couple of days as we see McCutcheon all over the back. Let's come on board and watch this battle in real time with our onboard cameras on top of this Audi. Very close to contact again there. You can definitely say that the Audi off McCutcheon has got the pace as Friedman out in front of Zaitsev now. That's such as the pace of Friedman after nearly 70 minutes, just over 70 minutes of racing. Friedman is in the GT4 in front of a GT3 driver. As we've now got a Porsche, that looks like Walensky making their way through, and that tow will help the Porsche defend this lap. Two and a half minutes left, and this has been an action-packed race, full of incidents and drama, as we about to close, as the sun's about to set on Imola. Out in front of the GT3s, we had Rosnov, who's led pretty much from green light to now, apart from the pit stop, which they regained once all the pits had worked out. Prentice did sustain a challenge in the Porsche for a good chunk off the race, but seems to have settled now into P2. Raf Solakidis has taken third place for most of the race, involved in an accident, it looked like, coming out of Variante Alta and then retiring from the race. Hanowitz in fourth, the championship leader, just making their way through the GT4s there. Has been involved in a lot of the action on track. And most of it with the Zaitsev, who unfortunately came off worst in an incident with Hanowitz and the GT4 driver of Berriman. Onto the GT4s, Friedman out in front, pitted early, clean stint, great driving from Friedman. Sterling now attacking Anderson. Sterling and Anderson fighting each other. That's Anderson back in front. We've just missed that. Anderson gets the rear, out of control coming out of the Villeneuve chicane. Sterling thinks about it into Toza, not this time around. And I think Anderson has just bid his time.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you
And
can.
that is an absolute nightmare for Sterling, who will now definitely have their gap in the championship closed by Friedman. McCutcheon still behind OK, not able to make any inroads on that one. Naisbitt, who was involved in an incident at the start of the race, has fought their way back into P16. Sperano and Berryman both involved in incidents into the pits to repair a lot of damage. Back out driving as well, they'll get their points. Knight, it looks like, has retired from the race, as has Dean and GT Jamie Christie. But it's Rosnov who has taken the initiative in this race. Still battling, still pushing the car all the way to its limits. And I'm going to have to stick with these guys just now, as this is the battle for second place in the GT4s. We will jump back to the race leader in just a second, but we are watching the final lap of the GT4s. Friedman is out in front, but second place, Anderson and Sterling still fighting each other down the main straight all the way into the last lap. Nothing happening this time around. McCutcheon again will just jump onto that one as we get a second, but we'll jump on board with the leader now coming round the final corner. It's Alexander Rosnov in the number 1 BMW multi-bank group car. Takes the checkered flag as it crosses the line, and that is the race after 43 laps of driving at Imola. The 518 of Berriman crosses the line and he will get his points now. And Prentice comes home in second, and it's a close battle between McCutcheon and OK across the line. OK holds on by 0.2 of a second. Edwards comes home to take third place. The 242 of Naisbitt now comes through as well to secure their position of 16th. Number 38 Hanowitz will take fourth position just now, but we'll see what happens if there are any potential stewards inquiries as Hanowitz goes to throw it into the wall. We'll watch this for entertainment. As I said, that was the least impactful crash they've had this evening. You'd be shocked, but that would be a lot. That would be true. Zaitsev now comes across in 9th, does cross the finish, takes a checkered flag, good on them. Robinson's going to come through in to take P6. Friedman takes the win for the GT4s. Great performance from them. Anderson is going to be pushed along the line almost by Sterling, but it's going to be Anderson who takes second place and Sterling third, only 0.3 of a second in it. Such a close race. Kopacz is going to come through in fourth. Robinson 6th for the GT3s and Walensky 7th. Just waiting for Kopacz now to cross the line, and that is the end of round 7 here at Racing Series Europe. What a race that was. That is the finishing order there. I'm going to just see if I can quickly did we get any highlights, or has it glitched? No, it's glitched, that's fine. So that is the end of the race, and what a race this has been this evening for Racing Series Europe. If you do want to get involved in the action next time out, if you just check out thesimgrid.co.com. I'll say that again. www.thesimgrid.com and search for Racing Series Europe. Join their Discord and you can get involved in this action. The game, of course, is free at this time, or if you are a subscriber to PlayStation Plus. So have a look at that if you want to get involved. Next week we will be at Spa. There will be no commentary or stream, I am afraid, as I will be participating in that race. You can join my race from my point of view on my channel, on this exact same channel if you wish. There are other drivers streaming as well. You'll be able to catch the race that way. It will be at Spa, I believe. I think is the next race. We have a night race, which should be pretty special at one of the most epic tracks in the world. Let's just double check the schedule. Yep, we're at Spa for round 8, 90-minute night race with 2 mandatory stops. Then round 9 will be at the brand new track for the game at Valencia, Autodromo Ricardo Tormo. That will be a fantastic one. I've never raced there myself. It's going to be great. And then I will be back streaming the action live for the season finale, round 10 at Monza, the Temple of Speed, for the race setup exactly the same as this. So that's it from me. My name's Gordon Captain. You can find my name just down there, and you can follow on this channel for more commentary videos or point of view racing streams. We'll see you next week for round 8 at Spa. Thank you again for watching Racing Series Europe. Until next time, take care.